In this video, I'm going to talk to you about Nintendo 3DS remakes. These games are basically games that were originally released on other consoles but then remade for Nintendo 3DS. And I thought I would highlight these games for you in this video. So if you're a Nintendo 3DS fan and you have some of these games, amazing. But if you don't have these games, then this video will be useful for you, as I'm basically talking about these games, and yeah, you get a little small synopsis about these games. So the first game I'm going to show off in this video is Star Fox 64 3D. This is a remake of the Star Fox game on Nintendo 64, known as Star Fox 64 or Lilac Wars if you're from the UK. This game is a remake of the Nintendo 64 game, which I'm super impressed about actually. Nintendo 3DS was basically a portable Nintendo 64. It was able to play Nintendo 64 games, which is amazing for a console that size. So there was actually a few Nintendo 64 games re-released on Nintendo 3DS. So this was one of them. All this game really did, to be honest, was upgrade the graphics. The game was relatively the same. It didn't really change much. The story is exactly the same. The overworld map is pretty much the same. One of the main things that was changed in this game was that you was able to use gyro controls. It was a relatively decent way to control Fox in this game, and yeah, it worked. However, I found that analog stick controls were better. One of the best ways to describe this game is, if you've ever played Kid Icarus Uprising, the best part of that game has always been the on-rail shooting segments of the game, and this game is pretty much that. It's on-rail shooting for the whole game, really. It's one of the reasons why this game was so successful is because it was the king of that style of gameplay. You can play the original Star Fox 64 on the Nintendo Switch Online if you have the expansion pass. It's not one of the best Nintendo 64 games in my opinion, but it is definitely still a fun game to play. And if you like a game which is just very chill, you can play it, you don't have to spend many hours in it, Star Fox 64 could be for you. The next one on my list is Pokemon Alpha Sapphire. I used to play Pokemon Sapphire on the Game Boy Advance, which is the reason why I have this version of the game. Pokemon Alpha Sapphire is a remake of Pokemon Sapphire. It added new features such as Mega Evolutions. It was basically just an updated version of the game. It had new graphics and new style. It's a fairly decent game. It's not as good as the original in my opinion, but it is still good. It's basically Pokemon as you know it. It's the Pokemon formula. You go to different gyms, you battle trainers on the way, you get experience points and you catch Pokemon. That is Pokemon. If you like Pokemon and you haven't played this, which I'm pretty sure you have at this point if you're a Pokemon fan, I'm going to highlight this game purely for the fact that I believe that Pokemon Sapphire is one of the best Pokemon games. So Pokemon Alpha Sapphire is definitely a must pick up if you have a Nintendo 3DS. The next game on this list is technically two games, but there is a reason for that, and I kind of think it's because the games are too similar to say that they are separate games in my opinion. But these two games are The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time and The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. Literally these games, guys, and I say this over and over again on my channel, these are my favourite games of all time. I think Ocarina of Time is the best game ever made, and I think Majora's Mask is my favourite game ever made. This 3D version, in my opinion, is better than the original version. It plays really nice, the graphics are updated. You can use gyro controls for weapons, which you find in this game. It's a great way to play the game. It plays nice, it feels nice, the controls are good. You can even use the touchscreen to change your weapons and attire and everything you need. However, Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask 3D is more divisive. This game did change a few things in this game, such as changing up the boss battles. They were kind of more remixed boss battles. They weren't like the ones from the original game. They were the same bosses, but you fought them differently. You also had a few mechanics in this game change, such as Zora swimming, and the Goron rolling felt a little bit slower. I mean, overall, it's still a great remake of The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. There was a few things changed as well, such as time. You could save better as well. You could change the time differently. You didn't have to wait around as much in this version of the game. I do like this version. I just feel like the original is better in my opinion. They are both great remakes. You should definitely play these games. The next game on the list is Fire Emblem Echoes Shadows of Valentia. In this game, you play as Elm and Celica, who are two characters with two very different stories, but eventually those stories intertwine. This game is a remake of Fire Emblem 2, or Fire Emblem Gaiden if you want to call it that instead. It's more of a streamlined Fire Emblem game. It does feel like it's one of the classic Fire Emblem games. It's definitely nowhere near as advanced or refined as some of the later Fire Emblem games, such as Fire Emblem Three Houses or Fire Emblem Fates. Fire Emblem Echoes Shadows of Valentia is still a great game. It's a little bit more streamlined timeline, believe it was the first game to feature the turn back the clock mechanic. So if you ever messed up in the game and your strategy ends up getting one of your favorite characters killed, you can turn back the clock for a price. That is, this was the first game I think that did that. I might be wrong. I am only just getting into the Fire Emblem games as well, guys, so I do apologise if my facts about Fire Emblem is incorrect, but please let me know if they are. Fire Emblem Echoes Shadows of Valentia is still a stellar game. This is one of the better Fire Emblem games in my opinion. A lot of people say this is actually the best on the 3DS. I'm not sure how true that is. I haven't played all the Nintendo 3DS Fire Emblem games. It's a good game. The story's good in this one. Definitely pick it up. The next one in my list, and this is the final one in the list, is Metroid Samus Returns. Metroid Samus Returns is the remake of Metroid 2 on the Nintendo Entertainment System. You have to thank this game if you are a huge fan of Metroid Dread. This game was kind of like the prototype for that game. I think if we never got this game, we probably never would have got Metroid Dread. The mechanics and gameplay of this game were pushed into Metroid Dread and polished, but this is a great first attempt at that style of a Metroid game. It's such a good version of Metroid 2. I prefer this game to the original Metroid 2. This game actually introduced the melee attack, and while it did slow down the gameplay a little bit and the pace, I think the melee attack did add a new layer to Samus and the way that you're able to control her character. My only downside with this game is some of the controls are a bit questionable, like as in placement on the 3DS. I do sometimes find my hand cramping a little bit playing this game. So I recommend playing this only for short amounts of time or getting a grip like I did for my Nintendo 3DS to play this game worth playing. So they are the games on my list. However, I do have one extra special game for you. Unfortunately, I do not own this game, but I am going to talk about it as I know it is out there. And that game is Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater 3D. Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, in my opinion, is one of the greatest games ever made. It's such a good game. If you've never played it, go play it. It's so technically advanced, and the mechanics in that game and things you have to do, incredible. It's so clever. That game has some of the best boss battles ever made. It's so good. The story's great. Everything about it, the style, it's so good. And the fact that they were able to put that game on a tiny cartridge for the Nintendo 3DS, it's amazing. It's crazy that they were able to do that, considering that that game was so huge and there was so many different little mechanics to that game. It's crazy that it was on a Nintendo 3DS and it was able to be played. So I do recommend that if you ever see Metal Gear Solid 3 3DS, definitely pick it up, buy it and play it, because you will not be disappointed. What a game that is. Nintendo 3DS is such an impressive console. The fact that it was able to play remade games that are just, man, it shouldn't have been able to do it. The Nintendo 3DS should not have been able to play games like this, in my opinion. But it did, so. I am now officially on TickTock as well, guys. So if you are enjoying my content, you can catch me on TickTock. I upload every weekday on there and have daily videos talking about daily video games. So if you enjoy me talking about video games and hearing what I have to say about them, you can catch 1-minute videos on my TikTok channel. And my TikTok channel name is @Ninfusiast, so go find me on there. You won't be disappointed. There are videos on there that are relatively similar to this style of video that I make, and they're only about a minute long. So yeah, go find my TikTok channel, guys, and follow me. If you have liked this video, please do like, comment, and subscribe. Please tell me as well, guys, I have a question for you. Is there any Nintendo 3DS remake games out there that you have got and I haven't mentioned in this video? If there is, please put them in the comments down below. I like to hear about these games, and also it does potentially make me feel like I have to buy these games in the future. So you can also check out this video, which I have right here for you guys. It's a great video. I put a lot of effort into these videos, and I really do appreciate it when people watch them. It really makes me smile, and I love meeting you guys as well and talking to you guys in the comments. So check this video out. It's right there. Go watch it. Bye.